We're back. It's been a while. Don't worry, I haven't been going just because Arsenal have lost, because we lost again today, and I'm here in what looks like to be the end of the title race, the definitive end. A great day for Man City fans. Not a great day for me. Shocking day, but to be honest, I kind of saw it a few weeks ago, so the pain isn't as bad today. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back again, Louie. Yeah, good to see you back in the fold. Just us two today.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, I think we may as well start there. The title race, Arsenal versus Brighton. I'll give my take on it. Brighton, wow, in the build up, yeah, they're unbelievable. When Pep Guardiola said they're the best team in the league in the build up, he wasn't lying, because we couldn't. We couldn't press them today. Normally our press is quite infectious, Jesus leading it and Saka, Martinelli went off injured early, but we couldn't do anything about their press. And then when we got the ball, we were getting pressed easily, and then we were going long. They were winning it all long. I did think though during the game that, to be fair, and it's what Brighton do in a lot of games, they had a lot of the ball, but they weren't really penetrative with it. To be fair, like, when we got the ball in the final third, we were actually making chances, but that was very rare. And in the end, 3-0, it's fair Brighton won the game, because they did come to the Emirates and absolutely stamp their authority in terms of possession and everything. But yeah, really, it's a sad end to the season, because I feel like now there's not that much to play for. We kind of know who's going to win. Well, we know who's going to win the league. We kind of know who's going to get top four, unless Liverpool, that win for United yesterday was huge. But yeah, just on the Arsenal title charge being over, what do you think ultimately has happened? Because I think at points in the season we both said it looks like Arsenal are actually going to do this. We're going to see it out. We did look like the real deal. But what do you reckon's happened, man? Is it a bottle? Is it just the players being too young and it being their first time? What do you put it down to?
It's a couple of things. I'll start with saying this: it's not over till it's over.
It's not, man.
It's not. You still have two huge games in the Champions League.
Yeah.
A huge game at Wembley as well. They're going to be wanting to keep these guys fit, fresh. They're going to want to win that treble against United at Wembley. That's going to be on their mind. They're going to be wanting to win the Champions League finally. It looks like they might do that. They've got to go to Madrid next week. Sandwich between the game they had today, where I didn't watch the game, but they struggled in the first half until, obviously, we'll go on to that. And then they've got, obviously, Brentford this weekend as well, who, some people would say they're on the beach. I don't think they're that type of team, because even today, they went strong without Tony, and they beat West Ham, who have been on a good run of form. So I don't think it's over till it's over. They've still got to play Brighton as well. So I don't think that's over.
Yeah, but they need one win in 3 games. So.
Yeah, but we've seen stranger things happen, I seen Zenez is tweeting about this has huge parallels between the 11-12 season, and if you go on his Twitter, he's got like a whole thread of things that happened, and the exact same things happened that season with City when they were chasing United, and this season with Arsenal. And obviously, we've seen that went down to the final kick of the final game of the season. That's not beyond the realms of possibility. Stranger things have happened. We've seen Liverpool throw it away with 4 games to go as well. So it can happen. I don't think it will, but it can happen. So I just think Arsenal need to now regroup. You've got 3 games in 3 weeks, so you can still, you're going to be fresh. City have 6 games in 3 weeks.
Potentially, if they get to the champs. Yeah, 6 games.
6 games if they get. Obviously, there's no guarantee Madrid won't go to the Etihad and win. It's Real Madrid, but 6 games in 3 weeks, right? 3.5 weeks. So I don't think you guys are out of it yet. It feels like you are.
Because if they win against Chelsea, that's it. They're confirmed champions. Because
but Chelsea are going to want to ruin that. Yeah,
but let's be honest. We said this against Everton that they're possibly gonna drop points there. Didn't Everton? If you rather, who'd rather play at the moment? You'd probably play Chelsea than Everton. Chelsea at home against Everton away. It is just. It's.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying, but I know Chelsea have had their problems, but they still have better players than Everton, and they can still, if they on their day, they can still muster up a win, or they can still muster up a draw or whatever. Brentford are a difficult team. Brighton are a difficult team. That's 3 games that aren't guaranteed wins.
Yeah.
So Arsenal just have to be there on the final day. But I do think it has been a bottle. I mean, you have to look at it at the context of the whole season and then kind of micromanage it a little bit as well, because in the context of the whole season, it's been a great season, but then you could say that about 3 or 4 teams. So ultimately, it doesn't really mean anything. I know ultimately, there's a microscope over United all the time, but ultimately they've probably had a good season. Brighton have had a good season. Newcastle have had a good season. And obviously City, they're just City. So Arsenal have had a good season. I think they're on course with probably where they wanted to be, probably maybe a little bit ahead of that. And I think you'll be up there next year. But I think in games there's been immaturity. I think even your experienced players, I think, Thomas Partey looks like he's crumbled under the pressure. Jesus hasn't been great. He's had some nice bits of play, but you need him to score goals in these moments, and probably why City let him go. He doesn't score goals in decisive moments like he should do. Rob Holding's come in and not performed well. I mean, we even seen a Kivior mistaken at defending today. So, did he have much of a choice? It's tough, but I do think there are stages where you kind of have to look at Arteta and think maybe he could have managed it better. I thought he should have changed something for the City game, because the way, I know you disagree, but the way I look at it is, I don't think you can go to the Etihad and go toe-to-toe with City and win like that. I don't think any team in the world, I don't even think Real Madrid can go to the Etihad and go toe-to-toe with Man City and win there. So for me, if you try something different and it comes off, you look like a genius. If you try something different, you lose either way, innit? So I thought he should have tried something there. It took until after the City game for him to drop Holding and play Kivior if Kivior played against City, that's not to say it would have changed anything, but it might have done. You never know. I also think as well, I don't know what Nketiah did to get dropped. I know Jesus was your main sign in the summer, but I don't know what Nketiah did to get dropped. If I was him, I'd be fuming, to be quite frank. There's been times where Trossard has scored goals and got assists and been dropped. There's been some suspect decisions, but he's still a young coach. Arsenal's still a young team. I mean, even Saka, this business end of the season, he's dropped off a little bit as well. And look, I get it. He's played probably between, from the Euros up until now, he's probably played like 100 games, to be completely honest. So, his legs are probably done. If it was City, they would be in a position where they could rest him for a few games and then it'd be fresh. Arsenal can't afford to do that. We see Martinelli today. He's played lots of games. He's come off injured. I don't know. I think.
So you reckon the lack of rotation from Arteta in terms of, you said Kiwior and then Saka, Partey, you think he's maybe trusted his favourites a bit too much towards this end of the season instead of trusting his squad a bit? Because we've seen what Reece Nelson's done.
Exactly, another one I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, and again today he takes our Man of the Match award. I mean, because he was easily our most infectious player, but that's not to say much. I mean, we weren't at the races today. So you reckon the lack of rotation is the main issue for Arteta?
It's kind of stubbornness until it's too late as well. I don't want to judge him too much because he's kind of the reason you're here in the first place, and it's easy to pile on with this whole social media pressure and stuff like that. It's a very easy thing to do, and none of us are managers. None of us probably ever will be managers. None of us are under the stress that he's probably losing his hair and having sleepless nights trying to think about what to do against City. Pep doesn't even have hair, so not that it's relevant, but but at the end of the day, like, it's easy to judge, it's easy to say, but I think it's down to a few things. I think. The overall lack of experience of your squad. We see in the back end of last year, you threw it to Newcastle, you threw it to Spurs and missed out on top 4. Probably was a blessing in disguise for this year, in terms of, going again. But I say this, I've said this about Klopp, I've said this about Southgate. It's hard to go again. It's really hard to go again. But I think Arteta hasn't done it yet. So it's not really a case of going again. It's a case of what can we improve upon. So I think it's going to be a big summer for Arsenal. You're going to have some big decisions, man. I think you're going to have some big decisions. I think some people's favourites maybe are going to have to go for the greater good. We're seeing links of Xhaka going.
Yeah,
I even think it's someone, I don't know, man. Like maybe you could improve upon. I know Zinchenko's had a great season, but I think he's a liability in certain games.
yeah,
I think maybe Ben White's been great this season, but maybe a proper right back as well.
yeah,
Partey, we've seen how he's kind of down towards the last few weeks. You need proper backup for Saka, someone who can push him to that top level. So you've got some big decisions to make. Arteta's got some big decisions to make, and it's very easy to kind of stick with the guys who've got you there. But the best managers are ruthless. We see Pep. He's ruthless winner. He won the league last year. He's won the league with 100 points 2 times. And then, he goes and brings in the best striker that's possibly available and gets rid of Jesus, who's a great player, gets rid of Zinchenko, who's a great player, gets rid of Cancelo, who's a great player. And then he's not afraid to kind of go against what is perceived to be his ideological thinking. For me, Pep's always, he plays beautiful football, but first and foremost, he's a pragmatist. And he's proven that this season with the way he's adapted.
You reckon first, like that's his go-to instincts in the same way? Because when I think of pragmatists, I think of like Mourinho or Simeone, whose first thought is to nullify the opposition, and then they'll get like their joy from there.
When you think about it, that whole tiki taka, what is the point of tiki taka? It's so the opposition can't have the ball.
Mm. Yeah.
If they can't have the ball, they can't score. For me, that's pragmatism.
Yeah, I could say so.
Because if the other team doesn't have the ball, the other team can't have control of the game, then the other team can't attack you.
Is there any manager who's not a pragmatist then, to be fair? Because an attacking manager, like let's say a Fergie, you could say he's a pragmatist as well.
Yeah, I agree. But Fergie was a pragmatist. A lot of United's goals that they scored back in those days were counter-attacks. And Fergie, the cornerstone of Fergie's great teams was great defence. Bruce, Pallister, Irwin, Neville, Vidic, Ferdinand. He always had dominant goalkeepers. He always had a very solid midfield. You never really seen him play with an attacking midfield player. It was always a very, very solid midfield. I think maybe someone like a Brendan Rodgers perhaps is an attacking manager who isn't much of a pragmatist, or I think the point I'm making is Pep. The way he's gone about it this year is his objective is complete control, and he's I mentioned it in the last pod. He's tried to very much solidify that defence. Plays 3 centre backs, sometimes 4, a holding midfield player, and then you can let them attacking players. It's very risk adverse, them attacking players. That's why we haven't seen Foden much. We've seen Mahrez and Grealish. We've seen Bernardo Silva and Grealish. Guys who don't lose the ball. Relatively speaking, you never see Bernardo Silva lose the ball. You never see Gundogan lose the ball. You never see Grealish lose the ball. You rarely see Rodri lose the ball. You rarely see John Stones lose the ball. And the only one who really has that freedom to lose the ball is Haaland, because 9 times out of 10 when he gets the ball, he's scoring a goal. So
he doesn't touch the ball much.
He doesn't touch the ball much, and then when he does, he bags, or he'll force the keeper into a save, or he'll do something which will pin you back. So I think it's been very risk adverse from Pep. And I think maybe Arteta can learn a little bit, because there's been times this year where you've looked immature in terms of going 2-0 up, going 3-0 up, and then sort of taking your foot off the pedal and not controlling games, allowing teams to have a way in. Seen that with Liverpool, seen that with West Ham, and I think Arteta will get to the drawing board this summer, and he'll maybe look at that and think, okay, maybe I can do something about this. I think Caicedo and Rice will help, but maybe that's the whole budget on 2 players, perhaps. I don't know what your budget is. You can sell the likes of Xhaka, Smith Rowe, get some money in. So yeah, I think it's an accumulation of things. But I don't think Arsenal can be too disheartened with the season. It's hard when you've been on top for so long, but when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's a decent season. It would have been nice if you guys could have made like a Europa League final, so then you could have ended the season on a high, or like a FA Cup or League Cup final or something. So you could have then taken something away from the season. But you're still in a building stage. You still probably got one or two more years to get onto City's level, and that's just the way it is. Annoyingly.
Yeah. I hear that. Look, I mean, I said in the group chat, it would have been nice if we got 90 points because that's our record points tally. That's that's something you can really remember on. Like we 90 points is a title winning. That's a title winning margin. Looks like 87 is the most we can get at the moment. I think what's happened this season, we've had a lot of luck go away. So look at the Reece Nelson goal, the Gabriel goal against Fulham earlier in the season.
Yeah, you're against United.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of luck go our way. And not to say we haven't earned the luck. Of course we did. In all those games, we were the team going for it. But it's just kind of run out at the wrong time. At a time where City have got all their, either they got their starting 11, they got the system going. That's what's happened. And in terms of individual players, it's not helped that Saka, unfortunately, since he got that call from Kim Kardashian, he has been ghost. To be fair, man,
he's a curse. To be fair, bro.
Who's Saka?
No, Kim Kardashian. Every single man she touches, something happens, bro.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. Martinelli, of course, he stepped up. But you mentioned an interesting one, though, Nketiah and Jesus. And I was watching that game today, and I was really like, Nketiah needs to come on here because Jesus isn't holding it up well, and he's not really getting into positions we need him to score. And I love Jesus, but you got to say that period when Nketiah came in, he was firing, and then he had that poor game against Man City where he missed a few chances, got the injury, and it's understandable for Jesus to come back in. He's your marquee striker, but like the lack of minutes Jesus has been getting. Nketiah has been getting. I don't know. I would have bought him earlier on in.
To me, it just shows a lack of trust from Arteta when someone's came in and they've performed well and they've done the job you've asked from them, and then they're just out the team, and it's not on merit. It's just on the fact that Jesus was your big money signing in the summer. I think that's it's hindsight, of course, but I think you look back at it and you think maybe Nketiah could have got you those 4 or 5 extra goals you needed to be in the title race still, whereas Jesus isn't a natural goal scorer. For me, he dribbles too much for a striker. I know it sounds silly, but you look at Haaland, and you look at people who are in the market for Osimhen, people who are in the market for Vlahovic, people who are in the market for Ivan Toney, Harry Kane. These guys have touches, but it's not like they are the main dribbler in terms of getting the ball and driving. These guys are decisive with their touches. And Jesus, for me, he at times dribbles rather than being in the box, which is great in the build-up, but then you lack something in the box.
Yeah, I agree. At times when he helps the build-up, it's amazing. You think of that game against Bournemouth earlier in the season where the ball's in the air, he picks it down, dribbles past a few man and gives it to Martinelli. But yeah, in the recent games, that's not even been coming off. That's the problem. When it comes off, we normally play well, but against City, he was marshalled out of the game. Today, he was marshalled out of the game. And you are just better off, especially in the game against Brighton, where you've been forced rarely to be the team who's got to be the counter-attacking team. Yeah, it makes more sense for Nketiah to come on. It's a weird one in terms of trust because Nketiah did give Arteta's always seemed to really been a fan of him, giving him the number 14, giving him the big contract, even early on when Aubameyang and Lacazette were at Arsenal. Nketiah was being favoured over Lacazette in some games. So it is a weird one, but of course he's got the City connection with Jesus. Who knows if that comes into it? Ben White is another interesting one. He's a top player, but today you saw his lack of pace suffered, man. Absolutely suffered. Mitoma had him on absolute strings. To be fair to Mitoma, it was a great wing performance. He went on both sides and took on both fullbacks.
Great player.
Well. Yeah, it's just a good. I don't know how Brighton do it, man. Like Mitoma and Cisco's looking good. One not a.
He came in. Undav got a goal.
Yeah, and they've got a quality goal, and
Billy
uh,
Gilmore hasn't played all season, and then he's just played the last like 5 games and come in and been
yeah,
quality.
I don't know where they're getting it from. Caicedo, unbelievable man, goes
Fantastic,
in at right back,
fantastic
and
player.
oh, he just looks like he looks like a right back, man. So they say he's going to leave this summer. They say he's likely to leave. It'll be interesting to see if we're going for him. Him and Rice, yeah, you're right. That would be a whole budget. I don't mind that if we're trying to phase players out. I love Xhaka, man, but yeah, he's 31, contract up next season. I would love him to stay around because I do think he adds a lot to the dressing room. I don't normally hear that of players, but I actually do
Mm.
hear it. Xhaka.
He needs to play at his age, though.
31 doesn't need to play.
He needs to. Otherwise, it's just an early retirement for him, really, isn't it? He needs to.
He can do the James Milner thing, though, easily.
I think he's better than that. I think he can go to like a Bayer Leverkusen who he's been linked to, and they're a Champions League side. He can go there and he can be the main midfield player for them. I think I understand him wanting to play games, be fit for Switzerland for their competitions. It's not that he wouldn't play games for Arsenal.
I mean, it would be interesting to see how many games he would get next year because obviously, if Rice is the one that comes in, you don't know necessarily if he's going to play 6 or if he's going to play 8. I think personally, I'll probably play him 8. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting summer. I think we've got big decisions to make in terms of like the Smith Rose and the Smith Rose notably. I mean, I think his days are done. I know a lot of Arsenal fans have a mad infatuation with Smith Rowe. I hear it. It's mad understandable because he's a hairline boy. He came in last season, bagged 11 goals, and it's harsh, obviously, for him not to be in the team. But
He's got to play
we,
football, man.
yeah, he has to. But like for a top 4 push, he was the quality that wasn't that was kind of required. But if it for the
Mm.
title probably isn't. I don't see him getting above Martinelli. He can touch Trossard. I was thinking earlier, if Smith Rowe really, it's easy for me to say, I'm not a footballer, but if he really got at it, yeah, I think he could push Trossard because he's good on the link up like Trossard, and he's got decent shot on both feet, kind of like Trossard as well. But I don't
Yeah,
know. Trossard's in favour, so Smith Rowe is probably off. And
you
look,
can
it's
get 35 odd million for him as well. To be fair,
yeah, exactly. You can get good money. It just makes sense. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Balogun as well. I think
one,
I
yeah.
don't see him coming back into the fold, to be honest.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, whilst he's had a good season with Reims, it's just I don't think it's enough of a great season to push out in Jesus and Nketiah. But I know a lot of Arsenal fans at the moment kind of seen a new toy and want to use it with Balogun. But you can't forget he got a few minutes last season in the Carabao Cup and did nothing. So yeah, overall with Arsenal, it's disappointing. I mean, I think for the league, it's disappointing. It would have been good to have a different league, different winner of the league. City are going to win the league next week, and it's just going to be forgotten about. Like it's greatness from Pep, it's greatness from City, but in terms of entertainment for uh, you know, the general populace, I think it would have been great if Arsenal or another team, but of course Arsenal were the nearest touch challenge this season if won league. Uh, I mean, do you agree with that? Because I think I don't
Yeah,
know. Like the next 2 weeks of the season are just a bit boring now. I feel like even this weekend was a bit boring, low key. Like,
getting to the point a little bit where I kind of fear for the Premier League a little bit,
mm,
because we pride ourselves on being this like league where anyone can win it, where anyone's competitive and stuff like that. But there's obviously a huge gap between the top 6, 7 now with Newcastle, and the rest of the league in terms of wealth and how much money they can spend. And then there's a huge gap between 5 or 6 teams and City. And, I think when it comes around to the next Premier League deal, the next TV rights, it's something that will be said. It's something that will be discussed. And it does make it, as a business person, you want the maximum excitement. So you're looking at it and you think City have won 6 out of the last 7 titles now. That's the same as well, Serie A is way more competitive nowadays. It's the same as the Bundesliga. It's the same as Liga. In fact, Liga and PSG have won 5 of the last 7, so that's less. It's the same as the Bundesliga. It's the same as you look at it and you think it's boring. You
It
know,
is.
and yet, yes, it's entertaining, but we're at the point now where it's like people are saying about the Qataris going to Man United, and even me, I was thinking like, yeah, I'd love the Qataris, but when you actually sit back and you think about it, it's Manchester United. Why do they need Qatari money where no one actually knows where that money's come from? You know, it's questionable human rights records, same as Newcastle with the Saudis. Why do Manchester United need that to keep up with Man City? And you know, it comes from the mistakes that were made in 2008 with Abramovich, 2011 with 2006 with Abramovich, 2011 with Sheikh Mansour. You know, allowing these guys who are backed by conglomerates and by governments to take over football teams, it it completely, you know, it eradicates the competitiveness of the league. I
Mm.
don't think we'll ever see a Leicester again, ever, while City are around, even when Pep goes, because you know you see how much money they've spent on the academy. You see how much money they've spent on young players. You see that they've got 8 or 9 different teams all around the world. You know, it's just a factory where they can just loan players to Girona, or they can loan players to New York City, or you know they're looking at buying Saint Etienne apparently, or something like that. You know, they can loan players to France. Even United with Jim Ratcliffe, you know, there's Nice. United can loan players now to Nice if Ratcliffe comes in. It's getting to a scary stage of football where um, these nation states are making it uncompetitive in a league format. In knockout football will always be the most exciting football because anything can happen across 1 or 2 games. In a league, 38 games, the team with the best squad normally is going to win that game, that league, unless something completely crazy happens. And City are making sure they have the best squad in the league. It's not a huge squad, but they've got players in every position. Some players in 2 or 3 positions who are world class. And I don't want to sound like I'm moaning here, and I don't want to sound like I'm making out like, oh, you know, this Arab money's bad. Every billionaire in their own right is bad, but we're at the point where it's becoming the point of no return in terms of the money they can invest, and you know they've got these youth players now who they can churn out, and if they don't play for the first team, they're going to be sold for 25, 30 million. So
Mm.
it's worrying. It's worrying the fact that United are even considering Qataris and the fans want that. It wouldn't surprise me if if Arsenal got put up for sale. You know, it would be the Saudis, or it would be the Qataris, or it would be some other nation state, Bahrain or someone like that. It's just it's scary, but you can't really you can't get them out now. They've been there for so
Yeah.
long.
I don't put it down to the ownership, though. I don't put it down to the ownership because, you talk about the league's become boring because City have won it so much, but City's owners were there way before Pep Guardiola was there. And if you look at their squad right now, who's doing the business for them? Kevin De Bruyne. Okay, you've got Haaland and you've got Grealish, but Gundogan, how long's Gundogan been at Man City? John Stones been at Man City for ages as well. It's not like other teams aren't spending this money as well. City have, for me, the best manager, the best coach of all time anyway,
Mm.
and he's just showing it. He went La Liga. You could say he made that. I mean, they had Real Madrid as well, but them two, you could say they made that boring. Went to Bayern, made that boring as well. So,
But
and one team you didn't mention in all that is Chelsea, who's have spent way more money than any of the other teams, but it's been bad decision making. So,
it's not just down to money though. When those owners went into City, and even when they got Pep, they got Tzizi as well, who was Barcelona's director of football. They hired the best possible people, gave them the best possible salaries in terms of directors of football, board, everything like that. In terms of the best that you can get, they've got the best facilities in terms of training. Um, they've got the best conditioning. They've got obviously the best coach. And I'm not discrediting Pep, but I don't think Pep would have been able to sustain the dominance that he's had 6 of the last 7 Premier League titles if he had the Glazers as owners, or if he had Stan Kroenke as owners, or if he had Daniel Levy as his own. I don't think that would be feasible because those guys can't just, like, for instance, Haaland. On paper, it's 54 million. When you look at it in terms of how much they've paid his agent, how much they're paying his dad, how much they're paying him per week, that probably equates to like 300 million. I don't think anyone's going to be able to do that in the way that they've done that. I don't
but
think it's possible.
they will win leagues without Haaland, though. Like that's the thing. If look, and also it has been. competitive this season in terms of they haven't led the league for most of the year. You know, I don't know. As I said, when other teams have got these, yeah, they've got the facilities, and yeah, he's got how do you say his name, Shiki, who's, but I mean, is he the best director of football in the world, or is he just the best suited to Pep Guardiola? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's just a match made in heaven, and you know that isn't something you can't really like. That's just they've just made the best decisions, man. I don't think it's anything.
They have made the best decisions, but
To illegal.
Do you think Tottenham Hotspur could have gone and got Tajiki from Barcelona?
But they got but I wouldn't have thought they can get Conte, and they got Conte. Like that is that's mad. They got Conte, but Conte turned out to be a rubbish manager. But also, I don't know. Maybe they could. They got what's his name in? I forgot his name. Patrice. No one knows who's the best director of football, who's the worst. Luis Campos was supposed to be the best, and I swear he went to a team and was rubbish. Everyone hated Edu for a bit, then everyone loved Edu, you know. So it's always the team that's winning that looks like the best, and then when they are the best, it's like, you know, we can talk about getting authorities into play, but what are you actually getting them into play for? You're getting authorities into play for a team making the best decisions.
Even before Pep, though, I seen something on Twitter, and someone was saying in the last 10 years, City have had David Silva, De Bruyne, Gundogan, Yaya Toure, Rodri. They've been able to sign the best players constantly. You know,
David Silva became a top player at City, but even during his career, he was never like a guaranteed starter for Spain like that. Kevin De Bruyne was a top player at Wolfsburg, but he never won anything until he went to City.
He was MVP of the Bundesliga, though.
Sorry?
He was MVP of the Bundesliga.
Okay, well, United signed the MVP of the Serie A in Paul Pogba, and they signed the top assister in Germany, Mkhitaryan. They just flopped, you know. Yaya Toure was dispensable to Barcelona.
They delivered trophies, to be fair. Those players you mentioned delivered trophies.
Oh yeah, they deliver trophies, but I mean they're not missed. Pogba, I mean, he might be missed. I don't know, but like you can easily say United have signed the best players, just like you say City have signed the best players easily. So,
and the problem with United is they've never had a plan.
Exactly, right.
They've had the money, but they've not had. You know, the Glazers basically gave the guy who allowed them to take over the money on leveraged debt. They hired the guy who sorted that out for them to be their director of football, essentially, in Ed Woodward, and they let him run ragged. They let him have 8% of the shares, and from the takeover, he's going to net. I think I've seen he's going to net like 100 million or something from the takeover. You know, they've let their friends run ravage because they never bought the club with their own money. They had their own self-interests at play. You know,
yeah. When you say run ravage, Ed Woodward has run ravage. Yeah, how?
What do you mean how?
Like, what's he? How's he? You making out like he's just done? yeah. No, how's he run ravage? Like he signed. What, he signed players for shirt sales, right? Is that?
He signed players and he gave managers contracts and then sacked them,
like any team does.
But he gave Mourinho a 6-year contract, or whatever it was, 5-year, 6-year contract, and then gave him the most laughable window in Dalot, Fred, and Lee Grant. Right.
Okay. We can also forget about the window he had before that. The
window he had before that, but why back Mourinho? He gets you in the Champions League, he wins you a trophy, and then you don't build on that. You're happy to take the Champions League money, and then you give him a 6-year contract, and then you give him a ridiculous window, and then you sack him. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he gave him all that money in the summer, sacked him. Ole and Mourinho aren't very similar managers at all. Van Gaal and Mourinho aren't very similar managers at all. David Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho aren't similar managers at all. Even Ten Hag isn't a similar manager to any of those. There's been no contingency in the way that the club's been run. He was allowed to make decisions when he's a banker, didn't even like football until he was given the job. He was a rugby man. You know, that's like me. That's like the bank, right? That's like JP Morgan going and hiring Mikel Arteta to be their CEO.
But the thing is, we spoke about this in the chat the other day. was it? Is what was Fergie's guy called?
David Gill.
David Gill was pretty much the same background as Ed Woodward in terms of he was like a banker. He wasn't. I don't
Yeah,
think he was. I don't
he,
think
he
that.
he was a financial guy, which is great when you have Sir Alex Ferguson, who is the best we're ever going to see other than Pep Guardiola. So that's fine to have that for Ferguson, but you can't. David Moyes isn't Ferguson.
Okay, he's not Ferguson, but Jose Mourinho, at his best, was seen as a better coach than
And
Ferguson.
that's a different.
You're seeing a better coach, so it's not.
That's a different era as well. That was a time when managers were managers. They weren't coaches. They made decisions. They had their budget. They decided.
Managers have always been coaches. I'm not having managers haven't been coaches. Like,
when did you ever hear about director of footballs in 2006? There was no such.
It's kind of like again, it's a thing. No one knows too much what they do, because like everyone thought Arsenal's director of football was Edu, when it's actually Richard Garlick. No one really knows. So it's like, but go to the original point. The original point was about someone's going to have to stop. Like what City's doing is unfair. But you've just mentioned the whole things about Man United decision making being bad. There's nothing unfair about that. That is United's problem, and fair enough. United fans have raised their concerns and tried to get the Glazers out. That's fine.
Looks like they're going.
And we'll see what happens. But I just can't put City's success down to anything that's not legal.
Do you not, as a football fan, think it's scary that the only solution we have to Man City is potentially, Newcastle are now under Saudis, potentially whoring out England's biggest football club to Qataris to fight against another nation state in the UAE in City? Do you not think that's scary for football?
I don't think that's the only solution England have, because we've seen that teams have been able, like Liverpool, have been able to compete with Man City
for one season.
They've competed with City for about at least 3 seasons. They won the league in one season.
They've won one Premier League, yeah.
Oh, teams have spells of dominance all the time. United won loads of titles in the 90s. Bayern Munich have won loads of titles in Germany, and have they done it for anything that's wrong? I don't think so. But as I've said,
Bayern have had some dodgy stuff in terms of.
I'm sure in every corporation, every industry, the top of that industry, you can probably go in there and see something which is slightly wrong. Like nothing's fair. So nothing's 100% fair. So,
but that's completely separate from football. That's we're talking about. Football is not meant to be a venture capitalist's dream in terms of a whole nation can legitimize every bad thing they've possibly done because they manage a football team well.
You say a whole nation, you say nation state, and it sounds really bad, right? But you just need to look at the figures and look at the money. And yes, Man City have spent the most. How much more have they spent for Man United? Not that much more. Or Man United might have even spent that much.
Man United probably have spent more, but the difference is, and I know I sound like a broken record, but the difference is that's Manchester United's money. The Glazers haven't, even from the moment they bought the club, they haven't invested any of their own money. They bought that with debt, with leveraged debt.
If they spent more than City and it's Man United's money, then what's the issue?
That's a legitimate source of income. You don't see any other business in the world where a state takes over and doesn't make any profit.
But like you said earlier, that's separate from football.
No, that's separate from football. But you don't see that. It's because football people, these countries and these big dodgy businessmen know that fans will ride out for their team no matter who's in charge. You can have fucking Hitler in charge of United. There's going to be fans going to Old Trafford and watching and cheering on the team. But that then legitimizes Hitler because I manage a good football team. I can't be a bad guy if I manage the biggest football team in the country.
I mean, I don't know how Hitler is coming into this discussion. To be fair, like I don't know. I just think it's so. if you win, you care about it, and if they don't win, you don't really care about it. You
I'm
know.
just saying it's not authentic.
Okay, but what really is, man? What in football in modern 2023? Because there's that issue, and then there's the whole issue of Premier League teams like
Yeah, but the Arsenal story's been authentic. For me, it's been authentic. I as much as I dislike Arsenal, I can't say it hasn't been authentic, and I can't say it wouldn't have been an amazing moment for everyone probably other than Spurs and United fans and Chelsea fans. In terms of, you know, Arsenal it's authentic. It's a club who've done
the story not authentic.
Because Arsenal have done things the correct way. They're marketing geniuses. They are great at selling products. City have got there now, but they've done that through the original huge investment, which wasn't authentic. The original buyout where they went on a spending spree. They bought Robinho, you know, they bought Aguero, they bought David Silva. They had no right to buy these players. Let's be frank. They had no right to buy those players. In terms of the club they are, they had no right to buy Sergio Aguero, who was probably the best young striker in the world at the time. That'd be like Newcastle going and getting Haaland last year.
No, I mean, kind of. When City signed Aguero, they came third in the league the year before. That was a bit after their takeover.
Okay,
so Robinho, yes, they had no right to sign him.
So if Newcastle went and signed Mbappe, if Haaland was still at Dortmund and Newcastle went and signed Haaland, would they have any right to sign Haaland, really?
No, but if you've got the funds available, then like
that's what I'm saying about the authenticity.
In all this, you're not mentioning Chelsea in all of this when Chelsea have done pretty much what City have done. But Chelsea aren't successful now, so it doesn't hurt. So we're not going to talk about. No one's talking about get authorities to stop Chelsea. No one's talking about that. In the season, when they start winning leagues, maybe they will. So, but I'm not going to be a fan.
Chelsea are dangerous. Chelsea are dangerous to football in this country. They're already ruining so many young players' careers through the decisions they're making. I don't know where they're getting their money from Bowley. I don't know what's going on, but that start again. They were the ones who started all of this with Abramovich. They were the ones who.
But you wouldn't. If I didn't mention Chelsea, you wouldn't have mentioned it because they're not a pain point at the moment. Because
I mentioned them before I made the point about. I mentioned them before I mentioned
Chelsea about spending the 600 million on the Bowley. Like
it's the same thing. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's
not peak because they're 11th.
No, it is. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. It was a disgrace under Abramovich. It's a complete disgrace. And, you know, we've seen City. What's happened to the news about the charges? You know, they're getting charged with 201 or whatever it is, financial doping irregularities. You know, that's dangerous for football. It's dangerous for football because what is actually stopping someone and going doing that again? And then, you know, then you have a club like Arsenal or like Tottenham who don't have this, and then they can never win anything now because it's then going to be another nation state, and Newcastle are going to get there as well. It's a sorry state of affairs. The fact that Newcastle had to be bought by Saudis for them to even get into the top six is a sad state of affairs. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. So,
but in a night like, what is the ideal world then? No one has peas, and it's just like everyone just play for your academy. That's the ideal world. That is literally you can't get a more ideal world than that. That's a fair.
The ideal world is the German model of 50+1, where fans own 51% of shares and own whatever investment outside is 49%. So the fans have the overall stake in the company. They have the overall say in what's happened. They have most of the money in the club. You know, that then takes away the corruption, the illegitimacy, the brown envelopes. That takes away all of that stuff. That's the model that football should be. But
that's run in Germany now.
That's run in Germany across the board. There was a loophole with Leipzig, but that loophole's now been fixed. That is how football runs in Germany, and the German fan culture and fan experience. You know, you look at ticket prices in Germany in comparison to ticket prices in England. It's chalk and cheese. You look at the football culture in Germany from, You know, look, England has a great footballing pyramid, but in Germany, you know, it's the same. You know, from the 5th tier up to the 1st tier, you get fans going to games. That, you know, the culture is embedded in their culture. You know, that's how it is. For me, that's how the model should be. And Real Madrid and Barcelona are run very similarly, in terms of they have socios who own all of the club. So that's the way it should be. Unfortunately, in the Premier League, we're the only league that has hoarded ourselves out for the sake of entertainment, which in the short term has been amazing. But in the long term, you know, what if Dubai decide tomorrow they've had their fun with City and they don't want to invest anymore? They want to sell the stadium, or they want to sell the whatever. There's no protection to stop them from doing that. They could do that, and then City's club could go. You know, there's nothing stopping them from doing that.
But I don't. But we talked about competitiveness in terms of why we need a shake-up. You mentioned Germany. It's the least competitive league in all the top 5 leagues in terms of the last 20 odd years. No debate about that. Barcelona, Real Madrid, last 15 years, bar a couple of Atletico wins, won it. Like, I mean, really and truly, there's not really many leagues that are that competitive. So I don't really see how the Premier League is such a bad model compared to the German league. And I mean, in terms of, you know, the fan culture being better in Germany, who knows? I mean, they sing more, but like,
it's more sustainable as well.
In terms of what?
It's more sustainable in terms of Bayern Munich owners can't just turn around tomorrow and say, we're done with this. We're going to stop putting money in. We're done with this. We're going to sell the stadium. We're done with this. We're going to sell all of our players and take the cash. If City wanted to do that, they could.
It's not going to happen with City, though, man. It's just
how do you know? How do you know there isn't going to be, for instance, a war that breaks out between Dubai and they decide they need the money and City?
It's not going to happen, bro. Like,
how do you know it's not going to happen?
It's not going to happen.
What if oil crashes? What if renewable energy becomes the new huge thing in the world? And
like, it's
not going to happen, though.
You're finding every excuse now just to justify this argument, which has gone here, there, everywhere. Like,
it's. I don't know how anyone can be comfortable with it. And I even though I said I wanted the Qataris, I wouldn't be comfortable with them being. That's me. I would rather finish 2nd and 3rd and 4th with fans as the owners of the club than winning everything with Qatar.
I think in life the grass is always green on the other side. It always appears green on the other side. You get fans in, and who knows? It's a thing of. I mean, how does that even work? Like, what fans become the flipping? What fans become the owners as well? Is it just everyone who's got a season ticket? What is it?
No, well, the shares become available to fans. Fans then put their money into the club, buy a certain amount of shares. In Germany, it's 50% plus 1%. And then what happens is they democratically elect who they believe should be the figurehead for what happens in football operations. It's how Bayern Munich works. They've got Oliver Kahn. They've got can't remember the other guy's name. They've got these guys who have shares in the club, who they have elected to be. It's kind of like a democracy. It's kind of like a country. How the UK works, where we democratically elect a leader to lead the country, but we all pay our taxes into the system, and then that money is used by the government that we elect.
Right. Say that's that. By the way, I don't know about other clubs. Arsenal for ages had fans having shares, and didn't work that great either until Kroenke's got the full ownership now.
And then
I don't see much to suggest that
Luton the other way. Luton had businessmen running the club. The club went into pot, bad decisions, people taking money out of the club, people selling, the owners selling players and then pocketing the money and not paying the tax on it. And then eventually the club ended up in the conference, and now they've got fans who own the club.
There we go. So it can go both ways then. Like,
yeah, no. Fans own the club, and now the club 3rd in the championship, the best they've ever been in terms of the modern era. Whereas before it was dodgy businessmen who you didn't know where they actually got their money from, and they run the club into the ground because they decided that they were going to take money from transfer fees rather than investing it into the club and declaring it the way they should, and the club was suffered for a long time because of that. And there's nothing stopping Dubai from doing that with City. There's nothing stopping the Crown Prince or whoever just deciding one day that we're going to sell the club. We need the money. We're going to take the money out of the club. We need the money. There's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Just like every owner, though, there's nothing just stopping every owner saying we're going to sell the club, and yeah, like it happened to Chelsea. Peak situation went on there. Abramovich was forced to sell. They got a new owner, and yes, splashing peas, crap decision making, and look, teams. Basically, what I'm saying is City will be fine if that if the 1% chance scenario you're describing happened. City would get another owner. In terms of funds, they'll be fine, and that's
the whole Abramovich situation you brought up. That's another reason for it. You know, who's to say that the government won't put sanctions on Dubai tomorrow, and then they can't own the club, and then they have a whole. Yeah, but
it's not deep. Like,
but Chelsea could have had that protection if they had 50+1% fan ownership, because the government can't sanction fans, can they?
Well, honestly, fuck this fan ownership thing, man. I don't hear it at all, man. I'll be real. Like, it's if a team wants to do it, cool. I just don't see fans elect someone. Say it's Arsenal fans. What? Remember, we wanted Henri, Bergkamp, and the Spotify guy to own our team. Yeah, I'm not saying that would have been bad or good, but like, there's no evidence to suggest that'd be great, bro. Getting a guy who's on CBS Sports bantering about, getting Bergkamp, who's I don't know what he's doing at the moment.
The most successful football club in the world, Real Madrid. That's how they're run. You know, Florentino Perez is an elected official. He's not actually the owner. He's an elected official by the social. Okay.
But the most successful club in England at the moment aren't run like that. So it can work differently for different teams. Like,
but there's that. Madrid aren't gonna. The owner's not just gonna decide to take the money out of the club tomorrow. They can make some bad decisions, fine, but the club's always gonna have that option where they can get this guy out and then someone else can come in. Like what happened at Barcelona, the financial situation got very, very bleak, but they got the guy out and they've got another guy in, and he's starting to repair things. And now they're going to win the league after not winning it for 3 seasons. So, you know, there's that protection there. If Sheikh Mansour decides with City tomorrow, you know what? I fancy taking that Harlem money for myself, buying a New York. There's nothing stopping him from doing that, and then there's no protection from him doing that. Whereas with clubs like Madrid and with clubs like Barcelona, there's protection from them doing that.
So you reckon that's the main issue in terms of like these nation states or whoever? Because honestly, it's all money at the end of the day. If a nation state puts that money to a team, it's the same as if a conglomerate puts that money in the team. If they've got the same money, it's the same thing, man. Like, but a nation state hearing it sounds way worse.
And it's also sports washing, right? Because when at the time Dubai bought Man City, it was very much how it was a developing economy, a developing nation. There was a lot of issues with human rights. There's a lot of issues with women's rights. There's still huge issues with LGBTQ plus rights. There's still issues with ethnic minorities' rights. You know, there's a lot of South Asians and Africans working in Dubai and working in Qatar who have their passports taken away by the government and are basically modern slaves. That stuff still happens. But when you think of Dubai, you don't think of that, do you? If you think of the Emirates as a country, the United Emirates, the specific emirate of Dubai, you think of flashy buildings, and you think of Manchester City, and you think of the Arsenal football stadium. You don't think.
What does this have anything to do with this discussion?
What I'm saying is they are using businesses to legitimize the wrongdoings of the country, so that these conversations can't be had, so that the top 1% of people who own these businesses can remain rich, and the rest of the population, in a relative sense, can remain poor.
Do you want the Qataris at Man United?
No.
Okay. Earlier you said you did, but now you're saying no.
Yeah.
So you've changed your mind just
from a competitive perspective, yes. From a perspective of when I really think deeply into it and the reasons I fell in love with Manchester United as a football club, no.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, we'll have to wrap that discussion about.
And go into the City yesterday as well. No, I wouldn't, because I think
Yeah, I don't think it.
Manchester is a city. Manchester United is a club that has to be. It has to be Manchester. It can't be Qatar. It has to be Manchester. That's when you think of Manchester United, when you think of Manchester, you think of Manchester United. It's the first thing you think of. That's what it has to be. You shouldn't think of Qatar when you think of Manchester United. You should think of Manchester.
Fair enough. That's quite a sentimental way to look at it, considering, I mean, there's a lot of things associated with Manchester United that aren't from Manchester, but...
Yeah, and of course, but I think, when you... It's a global club, of course, but when you think of Manchester United, you think of Manchester, and that's how it used to be with Manchester City, and it's not anymore.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's it's an interesting discussion nonetheless. Like, one that's you don't hear touched on too much. It'll be interesting to see what happens with United takeover. Jim Ratcliffe, it's like it's him. Just before we go into United, we'll touch on United because you were at the game, so we'll talk about that. Just want to talk about City. I want to talk about one player in particular that I've got to give a shout out to you on this one, because you're screaming his name from the hilltops a while ago. But it's time we give proper appreciation to Ilkay Gundogan, man. Unbelievable in terms of centre midfielder, right? In terms of, you're not an attacking midfielder, you're not a defensive midfielder, you're just a centre midfielder. There's not a better centre midfielder in the league than Gundogan, man. Them two goals today and that assist, and it's the big moments, man. He always does it, the big moments. Like, and now I think about it, I think you might have mentioned him being one of the Prem all-time midfielders. He's got to be, man. He has to be. The last 3 seasons, from when he did that season where he was scoring every game till now, cemented his legacy in terms of Prem all-time midfielders, bro. He's flawless, bro. He's flawless.
I told you a couple of months ago, he's one of their biggest legends ever, and he needs a statue.
Yeah.
That guy needs a statue, bro. For in terms of City, his legacy in the Premier League. Can you think of? It's a shame he's in the same team as Kevin De Bruyne. It's not a shame, but it is a shame, because Kevin De Bruyne's always going to overshadow that. But had Gundogan have been at United in this period, or he'd have been at Arsenal when he'd had the same run, or Liverpool or Chelsea, you would be talking about him in the same breath as your Scholes, as your Lampards, as your Gerrards, as your De Bruynes, as your Vieiras. Doesn't get in them conversations for some crazy reason, even though he's had as many all-time seasons as them. The business end of the season, this guy now for 3 seasons in a row has stepped up. And like, I watch him and I think, it's a very cliche thing to say in football. But sometimes when he's not scoring goals and he's playing deeper, you kind of don't see him on the pitch. But if you actually watch him and you watch how much he scans and you watch how his body shape is when he receives the ball, and he's always making the correct decision, you kind of see the whole game through seeing him, which is a very cliche thing to say about midfielders, but for him, it's true.
I hear it, man. And there was rumours last year he was going to leave, and there's rumours again he's going to leave this year. I don't see why you let him go, man, because he feels like Kroos and Modric, who plus 30 just find another gear in terms of that clutch gene in the big games. I don't know, man. I think City keep him around for another year. Their captain as well. I don't know if he goes. Who gets the captaincy? De Bruyne. That's not
Diaz, I guess.
Diaz, yeah, but Gundogan, yeah, fake. That goal today is that first goal, one of the goals of the season. Like, took that like a striker, bro. Took the knee there, volleyed it like Berbatov did.
There's rumours that Pep really wants to keep him, but the club and Gundogan wants 3 years, but the club are only offering him 2, or like they're offering him a 1+1 or something like that. Whereas he wants 3, which he's within his rights to do. Protect his career. Protect if he gets an injury at 33. He's got 2 years of that salary guaranteed. You got to protect yourself, and I think if anyone's earned it, other than De Bruyne, is him.
100%.
There's rumours of him apparently going to Barcelona on a free. Like, look, I understand the romanticism of wanting to go to Barcelona. And maybe if he wins I think if he wins the Champions League this season, I can understand his decision to go, because you've won the Champions League, you've won everything you need to win. Most of them you've won multiple times. Go to Barcelona and you can do that, and then you're cemented as an all-time midfielder ever. World Cup winner. You've won everything with two clubs. Then you're in the Iniestas, you're in the Modric's, you're in the Xavis, you're in the etc. But I think if City don't win the Champions League this year, I can't see why he would go, because he's not going to get a better chance to win it anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't see why either. Yeah, it's mad. I mean, but he would suit right in the Barcelona. To be fair, would suit him to the T.
Yeah.
City have got rid of top legends before, but this one feels different because Gundogan, like with Aguero, they were phasing him out. He wasn't really starting as many games. Silva, the same thing. Yaya Toure, Company, and Fernandinho, the same. But Gundogan feels like a pivotal player for them. So, still only, he's 33, but like, yeah, I'll if I was City, one more year for sure, definitely.
How old Modric? 37.
Yeah, Modric's 37.
Still hasn't looked as good this year, and even in the Champions League hasn't looked as good. But 37, that's 4 years from now. He's still, I can't see. He's not a player who is physical and relies on pace. He's very intelligent. I don't see why it's an issue, his age, especially if you bring in a couple of players who are younger than him, who can come in a couple of years. I don't see why it's an issue.
Yeah. No, I don't either. On the other side of Manchester, you were there yesterday. United back to winning ways 2-0 after 2 defeats in a row. And obviously we were speaking about it on WhatsApp, and you had certain takeaways that you thought in terms of seeing players live, in terms of seeing them on TV. Anthony was one you mentioned.
Yeah.
But yeah, just generally, like, what do you make of the game? Because I think that was an important win for United because they needed to bounce back.
It was. First and foremost, man, shout out Manchester. What a great city. What a vibrant city. It's so different to London in terms of the vibes. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Probably my favorite in the UK. It's so good, man. People are so nice. The amount of times people said sorry to me after like bumping into me, whereas in London people wouldn't even. They'd probably start on you for bumping into you. Like the vibe's just different, man. It's immaculate. Went into the pub before and had drinks with United fans, and tried to immerse myself in the Manchester kind of thing. Because I felt stereotypical, like Londoner and whatever, Southerner in Manchester, supporting United, whatever. Like, but that's only a thing on Twitter and social media. People in Manchester don't care. Like, I had a guy come up to me and he was like, we're the biggest club in London.
Yeah, right.
I was like, true. But like people don't really care too much. So yeah, shout out that. But in terms of a football basis, a couple of takeaways I got. Anthony's a great talent, very, very frustrating, but you compare him to Sancho, and I think Sancho's probably a more talented footballer in terms of what he can do with a ball. I don't know whether it's application. I don't know whether it's physicality. I don't know whether he doesn't look after his body. I don't know whether he doesn't train the extra mile. I don't know whether he's doesn't want it. Maybe because Anthony's upbringing, he's come from the favelas and stuff like that. It's a cliche, but he actually has, to be fair. Maybe that's what drives him. Maybe, with these South American guys, they're feeding the whole village. Like, maybe that's what drives him. Maybe he's got that natural drive. But with Sancho, it's just not like that. And statistically, in terms of goals and assists, they're not too far off each other. However, Anthony yesterday, there was one occasion where Wolves were building pressure. This was at 0-0. Wolves were building pressure, and they looked like they were probably gonna put the ball into the box. And he sort of made an interception. Someone made an interception, played the ball to him, and he had 5 players around him, and he looked like he was going off the pitch, but he done like what Bale did, and he knocked it round Neto and Neves, ran off the pitch and ran back on, and then ran towards the keeper, and it was fucking annoying because he had Martial next to him who he could have passed to, and he ran the whole length of the pitch, and it was literally him, 2 defenders and Martial, and he could have passed it to Martial, and then he just shoots and hits the post. And it's like that decision making. He's a young player, so that I'm seeing intangibles in terms of his commitment and his pace and his drive and his want to get better, where I think the decision making with more games, when he's playing in Champions League games, he's playing in big moments, and he's made these decisions before, that's going to get better. Whereas with Sancho, like, his decision making's good. He just, I don't know. It's just, I can't put my finger on it.
It's just,
So
I mean, as well. Like, it's just not. It doesn't lead to anything with Sancho. It's just. I
yeah,
didn't watch the game. Like, yeah, it's. I don't know. From a final third point of view, it's just he's just mess, Sancho, man.
yeah,
Like,
he is, and I think he's a useful player to. I think especially when United can control games more. I think he's probably a useful player to have. But I just look at the wing options, and I look at how positive Garnacho was with his very little touches. Obviously, scored the goal, took that so well. He's him, bro.
yeah,
And Anthony believes he's him, which is halfway there.
yeah.
I don't think Sancho is him or believes he's him either.
That's the big problem. Yeah,
And that's the big problem.
at Dortmund, he believed it, but
Yeah,
United.
but did he ever truly believe it? Because even when he played for England that game in the Euros against Ukraine, where he was at Dortmund and he was like on fire, he didn't take his opportunity there.
Yeah,
Like, you look at Anthony, and his first game of the season, he scores a goal against Arsenal. On his debut, like, he took his chance. Like, he from that point, he sort of said, "I'm here."
yeah,
So yeah, another takeaway I had from the game, Lindelof was fantastic. I actually feel quite bad for him because I think he's good enough to start for a top team in the right system, but he's just, him and Martinez isn't something long term that's going to work because they're both not great aerially.
yeah.
Varane looked rusty, but still a great defender. Just very, very awkward on the ball. And there was one moment where, like, the ball came over. De Gea just didn't sweep, but instead of bringing the ball down, Varane did 3 kick-ups and then just booted it off the pitch.
Oh, I hate that.
Corner.
Hate that, man.
And it just bare awkward, but he just didn't trust going back to De Gea because he didn't know what De Gea was. He was kind of getting pressed and he didn't go back to De Gea to press him.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's bad when your defender, your centre-back would prefer to give away a corner than to give the ball back to you. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, Wan-Bissaka, I don't know, he's a weird player, man. Like, it's weird because me and Ralph were both saying, like, he don't give the ball away. Like, I rarely see him give the ball away, but he just makes everything look like hard work.
Yeah, he's awkward, man.
He's awkward, but it's annoying. He's quite good. It's annoying. Like,
yeah, he is. He's not as technically unsecure in the ball as people would think, but he looks very technically unsecure.
And he's there were so many occasions yesterday where he got caught out of position and Anthony did defensive work, which I was also impressed about with Anthony. He got back fantastically well. And yeah, I mean, Luke Shaw as well. Just, you know how highly I rate him. Yesterday, every decision he made, like, there was one occasion where I got frustrated before it happened, but someone was running at him and he wasn't aggressive. He was jockeying, but then he jockeyed and it allowed Lindelof to get into the position where he could block off the pass.
Okay, yeah.
So rather than being aggressive, flying in for the ball, missing it, getting skinned, and then leaving De Gea 1v1, he jockeyed. Lindelof got back, and then the pass was blocked off. So I think it was Podence had to run into him, and I just thought, like, that he's an experienced player now, so that's probably his experience. And there was times where I'm thinking he's taken too many touches, but he's got out of a hole and played like a great pass. His progressive passing is really, really good. He's an awkward dribbler, but he's a good dribbler on the ball. I don't really see him when he drives forward with power. He's got big, thick legs, so like he's hard to stop when he gets in flow. He's not like an Anthony or someone like that where he's going to beat men or like for instance Cancelo or he's not someone like that, but he's good on the ball. Casemiro doesn't look, I don't know, man. It's weird because there was one sequence that summed him up. Yeah, he won the ball, played a shit pass, and then won the ball back again. And it's almost like he gets bored, so he just gives the ball away to win it back.
Yeah.
And then there's like another occasion where he got on the ball and he just tried to dribble, realised how slow he was, so then just made a pass, and it was a shit pass.
That's funny.
But yeah, Eriksen was awful, to be honest.
Yeah.
De Gea is awful.
Still.
Yeah, I think Martial is good, but he I don't know, he looks like his legs have given up on him. In terms of I can see him wanting to do things. Like there was one time where he got the ball and he was like 1v1, and if it were Rashford and knocked it past the player and shot, Martial tried to do that and he fell over. Because it's almost like his legs don't work as much as they do. But he took his goal really well, and I said to Ralph, unfortunately, I didn't get to see much of Ronaldo at United because of the age I was. Obviously, I couldn't afford to go to, I had to rely on my parents to get to Manchester if I wanted to go. So I think I've only seen him once. But I'm glad I've got to see Garnacho at an age where I can appreciate him in a United shirt, because I think he's next up, man. Like, it took him 13 minutes to get his goal back after being injured for 2 months. And he's got, it's a weird Twitter saying nowadays, but he's got that aura where he seems like a superstar.
He's got the mentality. Sure.
He's got the mentality, and he's got the ability, and he's just fearless. And I hope that fearlessness never goes. I hope he continues to be fearless. I hope that isn't coached out of him. I do think he'll end up at Madrid one day, which is annoying, but I hope we get a couple of league titles out of him before he goes.
Wow. This is it's big talk, but I hear it. Like, to come into the team at 18 and like you're taking on guys, you've got the aura, you've got the blonde hair, and you're backing it up. Like, and yeah, he looks like he's ready for the stage. It's just interesting in terms of him never really starting games when obviously you got Sancho who starts more games. Maybe he hasn't got the technical security at the moment, but I don't know.
I don't actually think Ten Hag fancies Sancho that much, to be completely honest. He's always the first player to get subbed. Even last week against West Ham, Ten Hag would rather start Bruno on the left. I don't think he rates Sancho, but he's not a manager who's going to come out and say Sancho isn't in my plans. I do think he rates Garnacho, but I think he understands, coming from Ajax, I think he understands how important it is to manage these young players properly. Because we've seen too many times with United over the years, with Januzaj, with Rashford, with Martial. You know, we put too much pressure on these guys too early when they're not ready, and they can crumble. So if you can manage to, for instance, bring him on for 15 minutes and get him a goal, get his confidence up, and then I think he'll start the Bournemouth game now. And if he doesn't start the Bournemouth game, I think he'll start the Chelsea game the following Wednesday. I think it's about managing and keeping him on a platform as well, because Garnacho strikes me as someone who could get lost in the sauce in terms of, he knows he's him, he knows how good he is, he can get caught up in that. And it's now whether he goes down the Ronaldo route or the Dele Alli route in terms of his career. And I think, Ten Hag's managed young players throughout his career at Ajax, and I think he understands the importance of that.
Yeah, I hear that. A good win for United. Very positive when it looked like it was all bleak after last week against West Ham.
Needed to win.
Go on. What do you say?
Needed to win. Sorry to interrupt. Needed to win.
It's all good. It's all good. Different one, different take. It's kind of I watched the game actually yesterday as well. Playoffs, Luton against Sunderland yesterday, and then obviously Coventry against Middlesbrough 0-0 today. But obviously, Louie, with your Luton connections, what do you think Luton? What went wrong yesterday, and what do you think needs to happen in the next game?
We started the game really well, first and foremost. And I think you can tell from the reaction of the players when they left the pitch, they were disappointed. I think that's the worst second half we've played probably since the Watford game at Vicarage Road last November.
Mm.
Or yeah, last November or December. It's been a while anyway since we played that bad in the second half. And there's no real excuse for it, to be honest, because we've got a fully fit squad now. Nakamba, that's the worst game he's played since he's been with us. But, what we've got to understand is a 2-1 away against a team who have 46,000 fans behind them is not an awful result. We're still in the tie. I would have liked to have got a draw there, especially since their centre-backs, their two main centre-backs are out. Well, in fact, they didn't have any centre-backs. They were playing a midfielder in centre-half. And they don't really have a striker at the moment. They're playing Gelhardt, who's kind of a number 10 as a striker. But I don't want to sound like I'm using an excuse, but they have a £40 million player on the wing who can produce magic at any moment. I think we could probably sell the whole squad and we wouldn't be able to recoup the 37 million United paid for Ahmad. So, look, he's on loan. We could have got him on loan if we probably tried hard enough and we didn't. So, there's that. And yeah, I mean, we've got Nakamba and Drama on loan from Premier League clubs. So it's not like we can use an excuse, but when you've got a player like that who can produce magic, and I think we just didn't do very well at managing the crowd. I think when it went to 1-1, I'd have liked to have seen Alan Campbell come on in the second half, because he's not technically great, but he's someone who will chase lost causes. He's someone who will put himself about. He's not the best footballer, but he's honest and he'll run around. So I think that could have stifled them a little bit. Whereas Clark, Nakamba and Pelly is a bit more technical. And all three of them were on yellow cards as well. But yeah, our record at Kenilworth Road is really good. But their away record's quite good as well. So it's on a knife, it's on a gilt edge. And let's be honest, they're not going to want to come to Kenilworth Road on a Tuesday night under the lights. If it's as hostile as it was when we played Watford, then I think we can get a result. If it's as flat as it has been at parts this season, I don't think we can. I still don't think we'll win at Wembley, even if we get there.
Really?
Yeah, our record at Wembley.
The history of Luton in finals and playoff.
I think in my lifetime we've been in 6 playoff finals. I think we've only won like 3 legs out of the 6 playoff semi-finals. I think we've been in
1 final,
2 finals, and we lost both. York and Wimbledon. York at the Etihad and Wimbledon. Wimbledon at the Etihad and York at Wembley. We didn't win either of those games, and we were probably the stronger side both those times.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I don't know, and I think on the big pitch as well. If we get Coventry, if Coventry do a job on Middlesbrough, then we can beat Coventry at Wembley. I don't think we can beat Middlesbrough at Wembley with the technical quality they have, and it just fits the fucking storyline, doesn't it? Carrick.
Yeah.
And even Sunderland fits the storyline. Like, oh, they were in League One, they were down and out, now they're back, and it fits. And they're Whereas, and there's a storyline in Luton as well, but I don't think it's like the. Yeah, I think some
Hollywood story like that.
Yeah, and I was saying to my dad, I didn't want an ex-Premier League club in the playoffs because they've been there and they've done that. Even if it isn't the same set of players, there's just something that heritage. I'm a huge believer in heritage goes a long way. And I said I didn't want West Brom, I didn't want Sunderland, I wanted Preston, I wanted Coventry, but in fact I would have taken Millwall as well, even though they're a dodgy team to play, very stylistically similar to us, but didn't happen. But I think there's positives to take. I don't think we can play as bad as we did because we haven't played that bad all season. And we conceded a goal from a set piece as well, which we never normally do. In fact, it was 2 goals from set pieces, which we're normally the ones who capitalise on set pieces. Well, we scored from a set piece as well.
One of them was a worldy goal, but can't really.
Yeah. I mean, people were saying about Horvath should have saved it. I think you could have had 2 keepers in the goal and they wouldn't have saved it.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts anyway?
On the game, because to be fair, I don't watch Luton much. I thought I've watched Sunderland once this season. I watched them against Hull 4-4. One of the best games I've actually seen all season. Sunderland looked the more offensive team. They were, but again, like they weren't banging the door down. I just thought, I don't know, Luton offensively just didn't really offer much from what I saw. Um, and yeah, Ahmad's a player, man. That's obviously my main takeaway. I think going into next season will be very interesting what United do with him. Um, but in terms of the next leg, you're right. Under the lights, Kenilworth Road on a Tuesday night, it can get peak, man. And yeah, I think it can. I think it can get peak. So it'll be interesting, man. I think it's good they kept it 2-1. When it went 2-1, I was a bit like the crowd's up. There's a few more minutes to play. I thought Sunderland could have maybe got another, but I mean, it is good they kept it 2-1. So I'm hopeful. But in terms of the other leg, I agree. If Luton get Middlesbrough, it's a tough game, man. I don't know. Middlesbrough feel like to me they've been flying all season.
Since Carrick, they have been flying, yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I watched a bit of the game today, 0-0, and still a game from what I saw. But yeah, Coventry, I don't know too much about them, so that's probably, in terms of Luton, it's probably a good thing. But
they've got one great goal scorer and a couple of other decent players. Hamer's a good player in midfield, Gustavo Hamer, but it's really Gyökeres, who I think has 28 goals this season. He's the one he's the reason why they're there. I think if Coventry go up or don't go up, I mean, he's been linked to Everton, he's been linked to West Ham, he's been linked to Brentford as well, I think. So that's basically their main guy. Whereas you look at Luton, it's a bit more of a collective thing. You know, Morris has banged goals and Lockyer has been amazing as well. That's another point. Morris, that was the worst game I've seen him play all season. Yeah. He had a couple of like snapshots, but I don't know, man. I think I had a feeling before, but I now think Middlesbrough will do it, or maybe Sunderland. To be honest, I don't like either club. Just
Northern.
Yeah, they're just, I don't know, man. I've like, even from Twitter, I know you can't take Twitter. You could take that with a pinch of salt, but like their fans are just really arrogant. So if it isn't us, I hope it's Coventry. But unfortunately, I don't think it will be either of us. As much as I would really, really love it to be. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get a ticket for Tuesday. Unfortunately, gave up my season ticket a couple of years ago. Haven't really been able to get tickets since because gave it up at the wrong time. Really, gave it up. We've got playoff years in a row since I gave it up.
Definitely did. It's so annoying, man. But let's hope they get to Wembley, man. Then you'll probably be able to get a ticket for that.
I'm in Paris that weekend, bro. So, and I can't.
Not gonna get a flight back. Nah.
I've tried. I'm gonna have to try and I'm gonna try, but I'm gonna have to explain that to the missus.
Yeah, I hear that. That's
the techie one still.
That's not a situation anyone wants to be in at all. And yeah, just to round off then, Champions League. I just want to make a little bit of a point at Champions League, man. That semi-final, bro. Hey, Milan versus Inter. Heritage reasons is great. I don't want to lay into it too much because people already had their say on it. But it's worrying in terms of if I ever make the final. I don't think it makes for a great final. It's been a flat Champions League, man. That's my main point. It's been a flat Champions League. And both games were somewhat missable, I'll be real. Even the Real Madrid City game, yeah, great quality, but I don't think Benzema was at his best. I don't think Haaland was at his best. I don't think like a lot of their top players were at their best. So going to that game, it's a great result for City, to be fair. 1-1 draw about. I think City. It's cool, man, because that was the first time City's this season have been. Well, first time in a while you see City
stifled,
bro. Like getting out possessed everything. So I do think it's different though, and they've got a bit for the big games. Their fans get up for it now. I can't lie.
Madrid though, because again, the heritage thing, and Madrid don't really know what an away game is. It's not different to them, like a Bernabeu or away. It's not different to them.
Yeah.
And I just think they have the experience, but they also have like not just experience, but they have threats. Like I don't think Benzema will be as quiet as he was. Vinny was of that phenomenal phenomenal.
Oh,
This guy, bro.
he is ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. Rodrigo's still yet to have his moment that he normally has.
Yeah,
Um,
very true.
Modric normally has a moment in the Champions League as well. Hasn't really had it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I still
Hammond,
back him.
it's gone.
Do you know what? Actually, I think in the final, Inter and AC aren't very good, but I do think Inter can cause City some problems, man. I look
I hear it a little bit.
I look at it and I think like they've got some players like they set up really well in terms of their five, and then they've got some nice technical players in front of the five in Brozovic, Barella, and Mkhitaryan.
Yeah,
Don't really lose the ball them lot. And then they've got like Martinez,
yeah, he's
who
on form this
he's on
season.
form, but every time I watch him, he stinks. But his goal record's good, and then Lukaku can score. Dzeko obviously popped up, and it wouldn't surprise me if Dzeko, the football gods have a goal against City for him.
I would love that, to be fair, man. After City beat Arsenal League, I would love a Inter Milan win. AC Milan, yeah, disappointing by them. Obviously, Leao was a big miss, but I don't know, man. I thought Hernandez was poor. The defense was poor.
Hernandez
Hernandez,
is one of the most overrated players ever. Genuinely,
I don't know, man. I still think he's good though, man. Like,
he's good attacking. Yeah,
even defensively, he's all right. He's all right, but
Mori had his pants pulled down as well.
yeah, Tomori always happens whenever the English fans get a chance to watch Tomori, bro. He stinks it up, man. It's so peak. Um, so yeah, Milan. I don't know, because obviously I've always had a liking for Milan, so I kind of want them to win the game, but it is what it is. I think Inter. It's weird, man. It's weird that they're both at home, like technically, in terms of they both share the same stadium. So the home advantage didn't really favour Milan that game, but
I think that
I
ties
thought,
down.
yeah, in Milan scoring 3 goals to Inter scoring none with no Leao. If Leao's not back as well,
It was 2-0, wasn't it? Not 3.
yeah, Milan will have to score 3.
Yeah, three goals. Yeah. Without reply as well. Yeah,
Yeah, nah,
it ain't
not
happening. It ain't happening.
happening. Strange things have happened, but nah, I don't think that one happens.
Mm.
And what you reckon, Real Madrid? Yeah, I hear it. Real Madrid's that's so valid, man. Like I thought City would move to them at Bernabeu, and they didn't really. So
Yeah, I think Madrid in it now, and I
okay,
don't think
Madrid.
Madrid win in the final. But I think if City beat Madrid in the final, I think it'll do it, man. I don't know why. I have a weird feeling.
I hear it, man. I hear it. Something about the Everton win today is kind of just confirmed City this season,
League's
man.
diffy though, man. League's diffy. Champions League when the lights are really bright, really bright.
That music playing,
Yeah,
yeah,
when you
it's
hear the
different.
champion
Yeah, man. Some
playing
players,
in
some players bump
Istanbul
the road, man. Some players can't handle it, man. So
with the whole
we'll
world
see.
watching as well.
Yeah, and hopefully for Europa League, I hope it's a Juve Roma final, but it's looking like it'll be a
Same.
Sevilla
And then I hope Roma win it.
final. Yeah, I hope Roma's win. It'll be great. Juve, with obviously all their corruption, can't really get too behind them. Although I do like the players Juve have. Pogba had a decent cameo the other day. But yeah, man, that's been it. 1 hour 30 minutes of pure ball talk, man. We've talked everything. We've talked owners. We haven't talked relegation, but
We talked about politics a little bit.
politics as well, man. That's what I'm saying, man. We're gonna get into that realm very soon. Hey, the season's over, man. Summer podcast. Who knows what we're gonna talk about, man? But yeah, Louie, man, thanks for hopping on. It's been
Thank you, bro.
great. And until next time, guys. Peace out. Take care. Nice one.
Yes.